Hi everyone, I am Night Shifter and today we're going to talk about DBS Broly's pressure and a little bit of Okizeme as well. While fighting people online, I've noticed that some of his players don't really make use of his entire kit properly, so I thought maybe making a video about it would be cool, and it would be nice to share everything that I already know and to discover new stuff while looking for things to show off in the video. So let's get into it. First things first, let's get his frame data out of the way, the one thing that he is infamous for, in a bad way. 2L is -8, 5L -7, 5LL -11, 5M also -11, 2M -7, 5S -7, heavies -infinity, you get the point. He has no safe normals whatsoever. Why is this a bad thing exactly? Well, every other character in this game has at least a couple of safe normals, and as Broly doesn't, which sucks because let me bring in Bardock to really get my point across, and this fucker can stop mashing for a bit. Bardock is safe on every light and every medium. He is safe on all of these buttons. 5S as well, -1 now, which is amazing. But anyway, for one, it's hard to tell if he's going to do a frame trap or just restart. Frame trap timings in this game are generally pretty lenient, cancel windows are massive, so it's hard to tell if he's going to like 2LL or like 2L into another 2L, for example. It's easy to stagger with him because of how ambiguous it is what he's going to do. And the risk reward is also in his favor because if the opponent mashes and Bardock decided to stop, he is safe. He has a chance to escape the opponent's pressure. It's not a guaranteed punish on him. But if he decides to frame trap, that's like at least half their health gone. With S. Broly, this isn't really the case, because if S. Broly decides to stop to bait something or whatever, the opponent can get a full combo if they are correct. His bad frame data also lets him just be fucking eaten alive by guard cancel. No matter what button I press, if I follow it up with anything, guard cancel just wins, straight up. Whereas with other characters who have safe lights, they can do things like 5L 2L and be completely safe, medium punish right there by the way, 2LL completely safe, or even 5S completely safe, you get the gist. So they can bait even guard cancel safely. S. Broly cannot. He has to commit to stopping completely, which again lets him get punished if the opponent notices him stopping. Worth mentioning that unlike other normals which are like -7 for S. Broly, 5M is a free guard cancel if they decide to do it immediately, because it's -11. However, chances are you won't be able to immediately react to a 5M. Like, let me delay it. Delay the guard cancel by like 3 frames. Let's say an opponent sees you 5M in your pressure and they guard cancel it on reaction. You're still safe in that case. So at least that's good. But if they guard cancel it immediately, you're kinda screwed. Alright, so with all that said, S. Broly's pressure probably seems pretty bad now. Like, what's the deal? Well, he does have some upsides to him too, thankfully, and I'm going to go over them now. Despite the fact that it's riskier for him to stop in the middle of his pressure, it's actually still a viable option for him due to the cancel windows on his normals. So it's hard to tell, for example, whether he'll do like 5L frame trap 2M or 5L reset 2L. As you can see here, it's relatively ambiguous. Remember that it's still riskier for him because, you know, unsafe normals, but it's still possible to do it with him, even with something like True M. It's hard to tell. Now that we have covered his frame data and know enough about it, we can finally move on and learn how to effectively pressure with S. Broly. S. Broly has some of the longest block strings in the game, if not maybe even the longest, which can be helpful as blocking for long periods of time can be mentally taxing for most opponents. There can be sequences like this. I showed off a multitude of options in that little clip, and I'm going to talk about every single one of them now in detail. Get ready. First thing you might have noticed is that his block strings are indeed long as hell, which is nice. But besides that, you might have seen me do 2L5L into another 2L5L. This goes back to the point I made about ambiguity, where your opponent won't know for sure if you'll stop at 5L or if you'll frame trap, because the cancel window from 5L is pretty large, so it's hard to tell the difference between this or this. See? One of them frame traps and one of them is actually a reset. After the second time I did 2L 5L, I went ahead and frame trapped with 5M, and then after 5M I went ahead and did 2MM. So when do you use this? 2MM is only to be used when you want to dare your opponent to do something. You use 2MM to abuse your opponent's respect, because this is not something that you should generally get away with, as it is incredibly easy to escape by simply jumping. Something as simple as that, or even reflecting, will work, even just like a frame 1 option. It's a way to dare your opponent to do something. It will frame trap mashing, but not much else. Fortunately though, you can do the same thing from 2M that we did from 5L, because they have the same frame advantage and both have a large cancel window. So you can do even shit like this. It's possible. Using 2MM may or may not make the opponent respect you, exactly because it will frame trap mashing. So they won't want to do that anymore, but they will want to use other escape options, and that's when the rest of the block strings frame traps come in. After 2MM I did 5S5H because that option will beat reflect. This string is pretty much reflect proof, because they will need to reflect multiple times to get S. Broly out of their face, as you might have seen there. Goku had to reflect 2 times. However, multiple reflects are a bad idea against S. Broly, because for one, he can deal with reflecting if he sees it coming by just true stringing into his command grab. He can do an anti-reflect that leaves him safe on block, or he can make use of this thing, this atrocious range, atrocious in a good way. Like, he can literally just, oh look, they reflect, I'ma use that now. So yeah, he has plenty of ways to deal with reflect, and I suggest you take advantage of them, especially if you notice the opponent is reflect happy. Don't forget that 2MM still loses to a lot of things like reversals and such. However, S. Broly also has a good way to deal with DPs, and that is Hell 5H. Cooler's DP is a bit of a specific case because it goes too high up for the 5H to hit, but the armor through it, and as you can see we are plus 15. Like, we are at least plus 12 I believe, depending on when the armor triggers against this DP, but yeah. Plus 18 here. So you have enough time to go back and take your turn again, or maybe even just straight punish. Depending on how well you timed the held 5H, you can't really hold it very end or you'll just be full screen. You have to hold it just enough for the armor to trigger. Like that. I'm pretty sure that's a true punish. But yes, abuse 5H against DP happy fellas. Be careful against Gogeta Blue in particular though, because his medium DP is a multi-hitter. So it kinda just wins, because 5H only takes one hit before the armor goes away. Interestingly enough though, despite the fact that multi-hitting specials break the armor, multi-hitting normals don't. It just wins, even against something like Vegito 5L. I can even be a little late on the held 5H. It just wins, so that's pretty convenient. So in the block string I showed off earlier, I did 5S 5H and then 2H 236S. 5H 2H will true string, there is no gap. However, after any medium or heavy 236S, frame traps jumping. And basically anything else, it will frame trap it. There's like a tiny gap. But besides that, it also jails into vanish. So if the opponent tries to reflect here, they can't. God damn it. There we go. If they try to reflect, they can't. It jails. But you have to vanish at like the very start of the move. You can't do it like this. You can't let the whole thing rock. It has to be immediate. 236S is also a great way to end your pressure, because it is -5 and spaces out the opponent considerably. If they sit still, you can even reach them again with your 5L, but chances are they'll probably go and schmoove around somewhere else. In any case, unlike 236L though, 236S leaves a gap. From any medium or heavy, it will frame trap jumping and basically anything else. But it is reflectable. Safe on reflect though, which is pretty cool. But I would still recommend that most of the time you end on 236L because it is gapless. And because, you know, doing 236S at the end of your string every time will get you level 3'd. Trust me, it's not fun. I've experienced it. A funny little thing about 236S is that doing it twice is actually not the worst idea in the world. At least if the opponent doesn't really know the matchup too well, because if you do it twice in a row and they jump away, you're plus. If 236S catches them in the air, you are +4, which is not really enough to go and take your turn back, but you do gain a good positional advantage, which might let you take another turn back if you play your cards right. And you know, if they try and go for something cheeky... Whoops, let me try that again. Come on now. Jesus, what is wrong with my inputs? There we go. If they try and go for something cheeky like that after your 236S, the armor will catch it. Even if it's something as dummy fast as Vegito 5M. So that's pretty nice. So what is the counterplay to this? Well, it's actually not too difficult. All you need to do is super jump back to avoid anything that S Broly can do. You might be far away at this point, but you don't actually need to super jump back. You can super jump straight up or forward and then air dash afterwards. But basically just super jump. And you'll be able to avoid the 236S as well as just about anything else you can try. So after 236S vanish, I did a 6M and did a crossup. Those are of course universal options, but they're still very important because they help you add more layers to your pressure, as it were. Just makes your S Broly harder to block. And just more stressful in general, because let's think about this. You have long ass block strings. You have a command grab, a 24 frame one, and also a 22 frame command grab now. And also this fucking thing. So even if you're somewhat far away from him, he can still threaten you. And then you also add 6M on top of that and crossups. He becomes a lot more threatening. So it's worth using those universal options as well. Dragon Rush, of course, is also worth using from time to time, just because you get a reward from it mid-screen and meter build, as opposed to chew on 4L, which you need to vanish for, or chew on 4H, which takes half a bar. So yeah, definitely remember to use universal options in your pressure too. And trust me when I say this, absolutely fucking no one online is going to block S Broly 6M. So have fun. After the cross-up I added like a few more normals in there, and then did 5S 5L. How does that work? 5S is actually a great pressure point for S Broly because, if you remember, 5S 5H will frame trap jumping or mashing or basically anything, so it will create a little bit of respect if the opponent can catch on. They will not want to mash here or just do much in general, so that's why it's an even better place to try and bait things or restart your pressure. You can also fuck with their brains by doing 5S into 5H but delay it like a lot. Or 5S 5L. It's hard to tell the difference between those two. Or even like 5S charged 5H. Even that can really mess with people's heads. The cool thing about 5S is that it creates a little bit of a smoke screen. So say if you decide to grab, the animation will be a little harder to see. Like no matter which grab you do really. You can just do pretty much any grab. It will be just a little bit harder to see. And you know, there's also a nice little armored frame trap waiting for the opponent if they try to mash on your grab. You can also do multiple 5S's, which is nice, into 5H, which will beat their super dash if they try and go for that. And of course, you can just go ahead and 6H, or chew on 4H because it reaches quite far. It reaches from round start, which is pretty cool. But 6H, like, 6H is dumb. You can throw all 5 key blasts if you feel the need, and 6H will still fucking reach. But yeah, 5S, great pressure point. Make use of it. I also added a chew S in my block string. I think I did like this. The opponent can mash on it, sure, because it's 24 frames. But it's kind of just sort of another layer. It's something unexpected which might mess with their brain. And guess what? You can also 6H after this. But you do need to delay it a little bit because it actually has pretty decent block stun. Of course, you can also maybe just like... Ah, crap, that barely doesn't reach. This... What? Holy shit. This has so much block stun. I didn't even really realize. But yeah, chew S is kinda just like another unpredictable option that you have in your arsenal. It's nice to have, not particularly necessary to use. But if you catch someone with this, be proud of yourself. I think that's about all there is to say about S Broly's pressure. I hope you've learned something from this video and that you'll have fun opening more people up with this guy. Remember not to make the grab your only way of opening people up. I say that because I've been guilty of that too. But you should remember, you also have 6M. You also have cross-ups, if I can fucking do one. You also have just general frame trap reset, mind games, and all that kind of stuff. You have assists to support your offense a little bit. You can even do things like this, so they can't mash on your grab if you have the right assist. Like, I have 17A here. You can also use DP assists like Team Gohan A or stuff like that to cover your options so they can't mash on it. For example, just a little thing, because assists sort of allow you to customize your offense more, depending on what assist you use, of course. So, have fun. Now, I might have finished talking about his pressure, but I'm also gonna go over his Oki, as I said in the beginning of the video. So we're gonna start off with J236M Oki. So what did I do there? After a J236M corner knockdown, just walk back a little bit and then time a 2L. If you could actually do the freaking move. There we go. Just time a 2L and you will catch down tech mash. You will catch up tech. It will even catch forward tech. He doesn't really seem to want to do it right now. But yeah, if you time a 2L correctly, it will catch down tech, up tech, and forward tech. And you also have an option select for it. Let me show you by setting the enemy to block real quick. What are you doing? Oh yeah, you're fucking set to counterattack, Candy. You have the option select of 2L, 9LL. If the opponent decides to block, you will get a block string. But if the opponent doesn't block, your 2L, you can convert off it. It's an option select, as in you do one sequence of buttons, but you get two different results based on what the opponent does. So just 2L and then hold up while mashing light again. You will automatically combo or block string depending on what the opponent did. This Oki can also work mid-screen, however it will not catch forward tech because you need to run up to them. But funny thing about it mid-screen is that if they up tech and block, you can cross them up. Let me give an example here. You can get the most cursed fucking cross-up, and it's also a medium starter, and it works consistently to get them to up tech. So have fun with that. Moving on to corner 2-on-4 Oki, you have two options. You can whiff a 2L and then immediately air dash JM, which is more consistent but doesn't regenerate assists. And you can also whiff 5L and air dash JM, which will regenerate your assists but is a little harder to do, especially in lag. You can also use the option select that I showed off earlier to cover up tech. And just like that, you got a combo for free. And back into Oki we go. So this is pretty nice to have. Make sure you use 2-on-4 Oki whenever you can. I'm pretty sure it's his best corner Oki. You can also get a safe jump off mid-screen 2-on-4M, though it's a little bit more inconsistent to execute. I'm gonna show it real quick. You need to wait a little bit, like hold S during the 2-on-4M animation and then wait a bit. Wait a little bit. And then dash jump into a fastball JM. So a super dash jump into fastball JM. It's a bit tricky to get, and it unfortunately doesn't really catch uptech very well. Let me get this dude to stop upteching for a bit. But yeah, you do get a safe jump and you do get to cover ground tech, so it can be useful for asserting pressure again after mid-screen 6H. For mid-screen level 3 Oki, you can try to do the same thing as with the mid-screen 2-on-4 Oki. This is just as inconsistent though, because it relies on your ability to properly maneuver super jump floats and shit. But as you just saw, it's possible to get it. You can get a safe jump JM QL, and you don't have to worry about uptech this time because it's a hard knockdown. In the corner, the Oki is much easier. You don't have to worry about super jump float shenanigans. It's very simple. Just a good old air dash JH. And if it hits, it's a jump heavy from S Broly. It's gonna deal good damage. So have fun. One last thing to say before closing out the video. As you have observed, hopefully, S Broly has kinda crappy frame data, but still has good places to bait things, and he can still be quite threatening, especially now that with the new patch he got an increased range buff on 6th stage. It's actually hilarious now. And more importantly, a 22 frame command grab, which is quite a bit harder to react to. But besides all that, there's one more factor that you have to take into consideration. S Broly gets a 15% damage buff after his level 3. So quite literally any touch will destroy 60% of your health. So he also has the extra threat of, you know what, maybe this guy won't open you up as easily as some other characters, but if you fuck up, he kills you. Just poof. Gone. Your health is gone. He was already one of the highest damaging characters in the game without this 15% damage buff. Now he's fucking stupid. So you better be careful when blocking this dude. And like, not being stressed out by his incredibly long block strings is going to be difficult now. 22 frame grab, by the way. So S Broly players, I hope you learned something new from this video. I hope that you'll use it well. And I'll see you next time. Take care.